Dear students, good morning. Welcome to La Excellence IAS. Let us start the discussion on today's newspaper, that is 1st September 2020. The first article for discussion is GST reform needs a new grand bargain. This grand bargain, author calls it as GST 2.0. In this, he has used two words, sovereign and sub-sovereign entities. The sovereign entity he refers to center and sub-sovereign to state and local governments. He emphasizes that a new system has to come between sovereign and sub-sovereign entities in the context of GST. And he takes the Australian GST implementation as an example. Indian GST journey and Australia's GST journey have started together, and how they have fared, that also we will be looking in this article. You know, GST compensation payment is an issue today. The center stated that it is not willing to pay GST losses happened due to COVID-19 pandemic. In this scenario, the author argues center abdicating its responsibility from paying compensation to states is wrong on many counts. One is the states do not have the revenue recourses as like center. The center can issue sovereign bonds. The center can borrow at a lower cost compared to the states. The center is giving an reason that if it borrows, then India's rating with the international rating agencies may come down, and it may dissuade investors coming to India. But remember here, rating agencies takes entire public debt into consideration, not center's debt or state's debt. When overall public debt is high, the rating is expected to come down. So the reasoning of the center also appears to be faulty. And fiscal stimulus, fiscal management of the nation as a whole is related to macroeconomic stability. Center has a greater responsibility under macroeconomic stability to ensure macroeconomic stability. The biggest worry is this: GST is an indication of success of cooperative federalism in India. Here the states gave up their right to impose taxes by trusting the center. If this trust between the center and the states is broken, ultimately it will be very, dangerous for the future federal relations in this particular country. Now let us see about this grand bargain, that is GST 2.0. You know that in India there are multiple slabs of GST. GST shall have only one slab. Initially, Arvind Subramanian, then Chief Economic Advisor, proposed is 12% of slab on all the products. But finally, due to bargain between the center and states, multiple slabs have come up. Second, exemptions have to be minimal or absent. Food and certain medicines can be brought as exemptions from GST. But today, petroleum, liquor, and in transport, electricity, real estate, many of the aspects are being kept outside the framework of GST. So, uniform taxation, keeping the exemptions to minimal, these are essential. And next, center is playing a spoil sport over here. Center is shifting many of the goods into sin goods category. As the sin goods category extends, the government cess earnings also will increase. So who gains out of this cess earnings? The cess is not shared with the states. So rather than raising the GST, the center is classifying many of the goods as sin goods and collecting more tax from them, which is going into its own kitty. That's the objection of the states. Finally, remember one point. Local government provides, varied services to the citizens today. Wide range of services. Tax collection and governance, they shall go parallelly. The citizens shall be able to correlate between governance and amenities provided to them, the public services provided to them, and the amount of tax they are paying. So, bringing the local government into this discussion is very important. If 12% is levied as a tax, let the states take 5%, center take 5%, and 2% shall be kept aside for the local governments. It increases their independence and autonomy, and their dependence on center and the states will come down. So financial autonomy to local governments will pave way for improvement in governance and public service delivery. These are the points we need to remember. Added to that, the final point is e-way bill. It is too complex to operate now. So e-way bill has to be simplified so that interstate tax can be easily collected. That is another point mentioned here. The next is the environment is a national issue. Actually, this article by Jayanti Natarajan is a rebuttal to the article written by Sonia Gandhi a week before. We don't get into the politics of it, criticism of that article. Let us see some important points from environmental perspective. India is performing poorly on environmental performance index. Here author says is environmental performance index itself is flaw. The reason is it considers wealth as a major determinant of environmental protection. So, wealthy nations are better placed to protect their environment compared to poorer nations. Then, in the case, the Bhutan is the best protector of the environment, how it has to be argued. The second point, environmental protection laws are effective against single point sources of pollution. Single point source of pollution here means let us take an industry which is releasing gases from its exhaust. But spread out pollution, it means vehicular pollution or pollution coming from burning of staple by the farmers. These are not being controlled. Our environmental pollution laws are not effective on this particular pollution. And forests are in concurrent list. You know 42nd Amendment Act has brought them from state list to concurrent list. It means that forests are still managed by the states and center is only having a policy control over the forest. So center wants to take the control of the forest. Yes, it can do, but it will be a disturbance to our federal structure. So forests are still a major responsibility of the states, and effective cooperation and implementation of the laws from the states make a big difference towards the forest conservation. And forest clearances. See, mining and industry, for this purpose, if forest is cleared, it is reflected in newspapers, goes to courts, etc. But most of the forest is being cleared for diversion of land for agriculture. So that is being unreported. Added to the Zoom cultivation or the Zoom or Podu cultivation, this is also clearing lot of forests. So where we have to focus now, we have to focus on, I mean, these tribal people, giving opportunities to these tribal people or educating these tribal people so that forest can be well protected for. These are the points which are there. The next article is about Congress party. So this article by G. Sampath, that is a party being pulled in different directions. Here we will see the political parties in India and the constraints which are being faced by the political parties in India. Now, by and large, Congress is the grand old party in India. So it has to be an example for internal democracy. But CWC, Congress Working Committee, which is the chief decision making body of the Congress, did not have elections for the past 20 years. That clearly talks of lack of internal democracy. And it is not just the story of Congress, every other political party in India. And high command and coterie style of functioning is dominant in Congress, and this is worsened in the case of regional political parties. And changing landscape of politics in India, let us observe. The space for opposition is lying vacant, and opposition is almost silent or absent. In this context, lack of active opposition space or voice is going to undermine democracy. Second, always I told to you that in democracy, institutions are important. Institutional integrity and neutrality is vital for the public confidence in democracy. It means election commissions, CAG, Supreme Court, all these are the democratic institutions, constitutional institutions. The public confidence on these institutions comes from their integrity and their neutrality. But today, there are allegations that this neutrality is getting compromised. In 2019 elections, you saw that Election Commission of India has faced so many allegations that, its reputation is in dock. So, in this context, institutional integrity has to be revived for long-term democratic interests. Second, that is third, the gigantic mismatch in the resources of political parties. On one side, if you see the left political parties, they don't have resources at all. On the other side, if you see BJP, they have enormous resources. So when the political parties' resources gets mismatched, then elections can be more swayed to one side. So in this scenario, parties are being, or else we have to think other ways of financing the political parties. State funding of elections or state funding of political parties, as in France, these need to be explored. The next is quantum notis solace. You can use this word quantum notis solace in conclusion to your answer. Always good headings of a newspaper can be a good conclusion to your answer. In this, the Supreme Court judgment on Mr. Prashant Bhushan's contempt of court case did not go along with its dignity. So Supreme Court has imposed 1 rupee penalty on this individual for criticizing the court and showing the court in bad light. Supreme Court tried to be careful in explaining this conviction. What it stated is, it is not too much worried about the reputation of judges as individuals, but it is worried about the reputation of the institution as a whole. In this case, the Supreme Court's magnanimity, Supreme Court might, and its reputation is essential for public confidence in the institution. So its dignity and trustworthiness, if it is undermined, then it is a grave injustice to the collective protection of the rights of the citizens. You know, the Supreme Court as an institution is the final recourse for the protection of the rights of the citizens. So court also clearly stated the contempt of court is meant to protect institutional integrity. But remember one thing, the court should have shown highest magnanimity and tolerance to criticism. Any tolerance to criticism evolves the institutions for their good. That point we shall not miss here. The right case, it is about unlock 4. You know, central government, that is government of India, proposed unlock 4, allowing metros, allowing gatherings of 100 people, political rallies, etc. In this scenario, remember one point, the corona COVID-19 is fast spreading in India. In any kind of relaxations now, any kind of carelessness or casualness now is going to make India a hotbed for this. India has already crossed Brazil, and the number of cases are fast growing compared to US and Brazil now. India is expected to reach to the toppest position with regard to the number of infections. And the second thing, many of the infections are unidentified in India. So if we observe lower testing and low contact tracing now, then the number of cases will be 10 times more than what is being detected. Ex-President Pranab Da passes away. In this case, I have two important points to say. The relationship between Prime Minister Modi and Pranab Da. Pranab Mukherjee is a statesman-like politician. When Prime Minister Modi came to his office, he embraced him in spite of he being from opposite side of the political spectrum. They are ideologically very different from each other. But the duty of the president is to nurture his government, advise, mentor, etc. Prime Minister Modi from time to time stated that Mr. Pranab Mukherjee is his mentor and father-like figure. But when government is crossing the lines, Pranab Mukherjee has come forward and warned the government. The important warning came up in 2015. Preservation of space for legitimate criticism and dissent is necessary. Those are his words. When especially with regard to Go Rakshaks, when they are going haywire, Pranab Mukherjee has spoken about this preservation of space for legitimate criticism and dissent. So he has warned the government as and when necessary. He has mentored and advised the Prime Minister as and when necessary. So that has to be the relation between Prime Minister and President. On contrary, when Rajiv Gandhi was Prime Minister, the relations with the President are at lowest point. Gnani Jail Singh, Prime Minister and President did not see each other for months together. So, though they are on the same side of the political spectrum. When we go to Indira Gandhi, during the imposition of emergency, the President did not even question her. So, it shows the President's office not standing to the Prime Minister. So, Pranab Da and Mr. Modi's relationship can be quoted as an answer with regard to the President's office. GDP falls 23.9% in first quarter. The worst is yet to come. India is going into recession now. And the worst part of this recession is The instruments which are supposed to counter the recession, like fiscal policy, these are also becoming powerless. The fiscal contraction is also happening because the revenues are coming down, expenditure is increasing. In that context, the weapons are weakening and the recession is coming onto our face. Boys, save your money, don't spend them now. If you start spending, probably you may end up losing everything. So rupee before is a 10 rupees now. So value of the rupee is increasing now. The next article is taking a leaf out of the Air Force. You know, recently Tamil MP Ms. Kanimoli stated that CISF disrespected her language. You know, linguistic diversity is at the heart of India's unity in diversity. In this scenario, providing language training to CISF personnel is very much important, not just in Indian languages but also in international languages. Air Force gives the language training to the pilots and other operational cadets. The same can be applied in the case of CISF. RBI moves to ease liquidity further. As I said to you before, the depression and is coming in the forefront of India. So the recession is going to be worse. It may take the turn of depression, and fiscal instruments are not or else are very weak. So only the RBI is the hope now. So in this context, RBI stated that it is ready to conduct open market operations and to reduce the interest rates further to revive the economy. US Israeli delegation lands in Abu Dhabi on historic visit. You know, a pact is signed between UAE and Israel to establish formal diplomatic relations. Taking this further, a flight flew from Israel to Abu Dhabi, UAE's capital Abu Dhabi. So, the most important remarkable thing is this flight has used the airspace of Saudi Arabia and Saudi Arabia allowed it. It means that Arab countries are becoming more close to Israel. This is the point we need to remember.